In this video, I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite ways to practice and apply large intervals into your lines. One of the easiest ways to sound more modern is to add intervals larger than a third into your lines. Even something as simple as playing a major scale in diatonic fourths can sound really hip. I really wanted to explore this concept when I started diving in deep to players like Chris Potter and Eddie Harris's playing. Both of these guys are masters at taking simple diatonic ideas and making them sound fresh and unpredictable with these large intervals. This completely changed the way that I approached improvising. So in this video, I'm going to break down 4 different ways to add these large intervals into your practice, playing, and performance. And all of the content that I'm going to be teaching you today comes from my method book called the Interval Method Book. This book is a step-by-step system to help you bring this modern intervallic language into your own playing. In this book, you'll find a ton of material covering how to practice, implement, and perform with large intervals, including over 50 written out and fully analyzed lines in all 12 keys. Here's a quick look inside of our book. There's minor and major scale diatonic fourth ideas to practice in all 12 keys. There's intervallic shifting ideas over major and minor 2/5s. There's diatonic interval ideas over major and minor 2/5s. And there's multiple fill-in-the-blank exercises to teach you how to build your own versions of these formulas. This book is built to show you how to practice these on your instrument away from the harmony, all the way to be able to improvise with them freely over any harmonic progression. So let's dive into the Interval Method Book together and add some of these large intervals into our lines. So before we get into concept number 1, I want to explain that the Interval Method Book is laid out with what I call formulas. We have 6 formulas that go through each concept introduced in the Interval Method Book. These formulas are all based on large interval lines. The first chapter, we have them off of our major scale. It's laid out in all 12 keys for you. But let's go over the way that I conceptualize these 6 formulas. So the first formula is with mainly fourths with some connecting seconds. The second formula is like the inverse of the first formula. The third formula is stacked fourths in groups of 3. The fourth formula is diatonic fourths going up and down off of every scale tone. The fifth formula is a similar idea to formula number 4, but with a connecting minor second in between the fourths. And then formula 6 is more of a free improvised pattern. I kind of came up with this one when I was improvising, and it has a fourth at the beginning, a step down, and then another fourth down, and then another fourth down. So kind of a combination of a few of the other formulas put into one. And we're going to take these 6 formulas and apply them to all the concepts I talked about at the beginning of this video in chapters. Let's take formula number 3. Let's play it in C major, and we can talk about how this pattern can be applied to a major scale vamp, minor chord vamp, or even a 2-5-1. Let's listen to the formula first. So this formula is really cool. The faster that you play this formula, the less it even sounds like a major scale. I like to apply these over, obviously, C major, definitely works. You can play this over F major as well. You can play this over G7. You can play this over D minor. You can play this over E minor 7. You can play this over A minor 7. And in a 2-5-1, you can play this over D minor, G7, C major 2-5-1s, or its relative minor, B half diminished, E7 altered to A minor. Now the key is to improvise with this scale pattern. I'm going to take this scale pattern and put it over Olio, which is in the key of concert B flat or C for me for the most part. So I'm just going to improvise over the A sections, and I'm going to play formula 3 in all these different places, connected with a couple, standard voice leading bebop ideas, but it's mainly going to be focused on playing these diatonic fourths in C major. Take a listen. All right, so for concept number 2, we're going to be taking some ideas on major 2-5-1s and also start to cover intervallic shifting. Very similar to pentatonic shifting, but a little bit different. So let's dive into this. We're going to take formula number 2 now and put this over a diatonic 2-5-1 to C major. Let's take a listen to the formula from the book. Like I said in concept number 1, this is a great way of practicing diatonic voice leading, but kind of disguising what we're doing. It doesn't sound to me like we're playing a major scale formula. But really, all we're playing is a G7 or C major line over the entire 2-5-1. But your ear hears those intervals first, doesn't necessarily hear the content of what the scale that you're playing is. Kind of a cool thing. This is what I was talking about. Eddie Harris and Chris Potter are so great at this concept. So to grow an even bigger command on the harmony, I like to implement this concept called intervallic shifting, where we take the same formula and we play it through a whole 2-5-1, but halfway through we shift to a different scale. So now let's look at formula number 1 from our intervallic shifting section of the 2-5-1 chapter. And this is going to have a bar of G7 or C major formula, a bar of A flat 7 continuing the formula, and then resolving back to G7 or C major. So let's take a listen to how this sounds over a major 2-5-1 in C. What's really cool about this concept is that we can shift to a lot of different tonalities that are not inside of our major 2-5-1 key. So you can go up a tritone, you can go down a major third, you can go down a half step. And in the book, we have different ways of intervallic shifting, which is cool. But keeping that same formula where the pattern is remaining the same through the whole 2-5-1 adds a different level or layer of musicality. It's almost like your ear is predicting what the pattern is going to continue to be, but then you shift up harmonically and it's hard to focus on exactly what you're playing. When I hear players do this, it kind of like makes me question what's going to happen next. Kind of a cool way of adding a different layer of tension and release to your lines. You're not just adding tension harmonically, you're adding tension because the formula doesn't sound correct exactly, but it's still being continued. Really cool sound. So practicing this with all the 6 formulas that I have listed in this book will give you a really great command of tension and release, but also adding those large intervals into your playing and just making your own versions of these really hip lines. Let's move on to concept number 3 now from our resource. So for concept number 3, we're going to talk about how you can start to build your own formulas and own practice plan to gaining these intervallic patterns into your playing, just like Chris Potter and Eddie Harris. So in chapter 5 of our resource, we have these examples called fill in the blank, and it's basically a way of showing you how to build your own formulas of these large interval phrases, and these are with intervallic shifting and without. So it's your job to continue these patterns based on the ones that I'm giving you. So I'm going to play a pattern in the key of C that's written in this fill in the blank exercise. I'm going to fill it in myself and then resolve. Take a listen. So the goal here is to try and make your own versions of these lines. You can keep the pattern the same, or you can improvise off of these patterns too. I'm going to play Softly as the Morning Sunrise now, and I'm going to start with some of these patterns from the fill in the blank exercise. We'll have those patterns up on the screen, and then I'm also going to take them and improvise off of them, kind of in the same theme as all of the formulas from the book, but making it a little bit more improvised and open. See if you can catch some of these patterns and formulas from the book as I play over Softly as the Morning Sunrise. Alright, that concludes today's video. I hope you got some great information on adding large intervals into your playing. Make sure to listen to Chris Potter and Eddie Harris for some inspiration for this. There's also so many other great saxophone players and also just musicians in general that do this kind of concept. These are just my 2 favorites that I based my practicing and this book off of. And if you're interested in diving even deeper into this material, you can click the link in the description below and download the Interval Method book. And for watching this video, if you use code INTERVAL5, you'll get $5 off your purchase. Have fun shedding these intervals, and I'll see you in the next video.